All right, guys. Welcome to another live stream AMA with IoTeX. Today we have a very special AMA for you with Raullen Chai and Jing Sun, co-founders of IoTeX. My name is Larry. I'm head of business development here at IoTeX. So, very exciting times for everybody as we kind of evolve towards Mainnet GA, and so much is going on. So we thought it'd be a great time to bring the founders together to share what they've been working on over the past couple weeks and months. For those that aren't familiar with our founders, I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. But the way this AMA will work is, we're going to share some updates, from the founders regarding what's going on with IoTeX. Raullen's going to share some things about Mainnet GA, and Jing's going to share some things about Ucam. And then we're going to take some answer some of your pre-submitted questions, and then we're going to go live to your questions here. So for all those people on Zoom or on YouTube, you can feel free to drop a question in the chat anywhere, and I'll be sure to add it to the list. So, with that, I'll hand it over to maybe Raullen first. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Raullen, co-founder of IoTeX. Great to see you, and take care of yourself during this crazy pandemic, which is ongoing right now. So for us, like the team has been, staying at home, but like working from home for almost 2 months. According to the California's regulations, everybody has to stay at home. But still, we are working very hard to push like the GA actually forward. As you guys all like the GA will happen in June. So there are a couple of things like we are pushing forward in terms of this GA, right? So one big thing is like the blockchain. We basically want the blockchain to be absolutely independent from Ethereum, from ERC20 tokens. So there's a lot of work to do, working with exchanges, working with wallets, working with different dApps, try to migrate everything back to the IoTeX mainnet, because it has been running so well in the past year. We have roughly 70-ish like delegates from the world globally, and the chain has already processed like 5 million transactions. I'm personally very proud of that. So that's definitely like one thing we are doing. In addition to that, we are also like a re-architect their chain to make the chain like even running smart, faster, and also like a more user friendly. On top of that, we are also have like a small team internally, like trying to tune the token economics about the POS we have, about how we tie the success of Ucam to the success of the token type of thing. So yeah, still some works around the token economics over there. And also in addition, you guys probably know, we are working with like IPFS Filecoin team very closely in terms of like how do we do the decentralized storage for lots of IoT devices. Ucam, the first one, I think Jing has a lot of updates about Ucam. But yeah, I think that's definitely like 100 things going on for this GA, and yeah, so I can dive into details later.
Great, thanks for that update, Raullen.
Yeah.
So we'll go over to Jing now. Jing, why don't you introduce yourself and also share some updates about Ucam?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Jing. I'm the co-founder of IoTeX. It has been a long time to see everyone. I know everyone, globally, maybe all of you will be suffering about this pandemic. The same here in US. But actually, even the entire team, we work remotely. But actually, we see this maybe will be the new form of working. We work remotely, but also collaboratively. Actually, I want to give you exciting news about Ucam. As you know, since September, we're already working very hard, start to research development, doing a long journey, and successfully we received a CES Innovation Award last year, and then we go for the CES show. Get a lot of the attractions, a lot of the attentions. In February, we start to do the pre-orders on our official website, and we receive a lot of support from our early backer. We are very appreciate that. I see just like the pandemic is a tough situation, but with the entire team, we decide to face it. So actually, we make a lot of efforts, collaborate with all the manufacturers, logistic and shipment partners. It's a little bit delayed because we expect the shipment will be in late April. But I think it's good. It's still good. Finally, we got our shipment actually, by end of April, and we work together to check all the products. And finally, the first shipment is already shipped out actually last week. And we see some of our community members, especially in California or in US, they already received the product. The product is already in their hands and in their house, start to protect their family. We are very, very excited about that. And we already received, some, the comments, feedback from the community. But for some of you, you already pre-ordered, maybe you haven't received the product, don't be worried. Actually, just be patient. We are sure just your pre-order already be on the way. Yeah, so for the Ucam, actually, we following this shipment, actually we are doing a lot of the improvement optimization. This is you should remember this will be the first generation of the Ucam. And all of you are the pioneer, you're part of this first generation Ucam product. And at the same time, we are already working on our Ucam version 2.0, which will have more excited kind of the features. Just like Lauren mentioned, we'll work very closely with IPFS team so that we want to make it fully trusted and decentralized options for our users. So there are a lot of the updates news will coming out for the Ucam, and in all, we are very excited. This is the world's first, privacy-focused, user-owned, privacy camera, which will be really into consumers' hands.
Awesome, thanks, Jing. So yeah, some great announcements for Mainnet GA and Ucam. A lot of great activity coming up. So throughout this month, we've been announcing a lot of things related to Mainnet GA. We started off with announcing Hermes, which is our open source rewards distribution tool that makes votes and rewards more transparent for the community. And then we jumped over into native staking V2, which is a new native staking mechanism that is transaction-based instead of smart contract-based. And this has a lot of benefits for scalability and also for ease of voting. I'm sure we'll have some questions regarding that throughout the AMA, so I won't dive too deep into that. But another thing we just announced is Halo, which is one of our, it's our new official dev grants program, not just for developers, but also for ecosystem builders. It's a way to formalize the engagements that the community has with the project, and also to help fund both wish list items for things that are more standard, maybe like network-wide tools. But also we want to hear your ideas. We want to hear your pitches for what you want to build on IoTeX, right? IoTeX is getting to the point where the technology is ready for a lot of people to, we're trying to welcome the world to build on IoTeX. So this Halo program is also something very important, but I'm sure we'll dive into that further in the future during this AMA. But, we have about, less than a month left until Mainnet GA. The official date will be announced very soon. But, it's exciting times. I think managing the migration and also announcing the last of the announcements around consortium blockchain, public blockchain, and tokenomics. We're going to dig in deep into the details of the things we've been designing for a while now. But as I mentioned earlier, we're going to jump right into your questions that you pre-submitted, and then if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will answer them throughout the time here. But I think Jing, you mentioned COVID. When you were chatting. This first question just around how has COVID impacted the development of IoTeX? What challenges has this presented, and how have you overcome them? So maybe just for perspectives on even how this affects startups even.
Okay, I just unmute. Yeah, so COVID-19, actually we already just expect they will have impact since China start to have this pandemic. But actually, just like, what we didn't expect is it will turn out to be a very global, pandemic. And it really just like, affect everyone, almost everyone globally, right? For the better side, actually, especially in Silicon Valley, we discuss with a lot of the investors, industry leaders, and founders. So actually, we expect, the impact of the COVID-19 will not be very short term. Actually, it could be, quite long term, as long as, maybe 18 months to 2 years and even longer. So that's a fact, and that's a challenge, everyone, especially the founders and the funding teams, and also those startup, companies, they have to really well prepared, for this big challenge ahead of us, right? So, but what is positive is, during this, pandemic, we see there is a possibility, we can work, although we are, kind of locked down at home and we work remotely and globally, but actually it works, especially just like for our IoTeX, team, because we are blockchain team. So, for the first day, we are already global, right? So we already adapted to this type of the, working style. We work with our global team collaboratively, right? But, for our local team in California, we always work together. But right now, just like we are all, work from home. But I'm very proud, all of our team members, they are very committed to, our goals. The goals, for short-term goals, our goal will be just like we will push the GA push our GA launch, on time. And also we want to push our products, which is the Ucam and the Pebble trackers, to the market as soon as possible. We never compromise these goals, but instead, actually, we try to find all the ways, right? We try to find the collaboration tools. We try to, we try to just like communicate efficiently through Zoom. Every day we will have Zoom stand up for different teams, right? So this make our working efficiency actually, instead of, decrease, actually we even increase. I heard some of our team members say they actually just like, because they will remove, the time on the traffic, on the road, and actually they can focus on what they feel is very important. So I think that's a good thing, right? But still, considering, the entire economy will be affected badly, and the US and the entire world, they are encounter a lot of the big issues. So a lot of the retail, a lot of the factories, they are affected. So we still just like, we are not that, positive, but actually I think, we are working very hard and we are in the right direction. So that just like, for all of the, our community members globally, I just want to assure you, the entire IoTeX team, we are, we are not really affected by the by this, pandemic to kind of slow down our pace. Instead, in our internally, we say, hey, no, we will not slow down. Sorry, there's some noises.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jing. So yeah, we know COVID is affecting the entire world. We hope you're staying safe out there and staying healthy. But just jumping into the next question. Thank you, Kolk 098076 from Telegram for submitting that first question. The next question is from Bozak35, also on Telegram, and this is about welcoming new users into the ecosystem, right? So with the recent downtrend that affected the entire crypto space, what makes IoTeX appealing to new users? And what would you say to a new investor today about where IoTeX is today and where it's headed tomorrow? Raullen, maybe you can give it a shot first.
Yeah, I think for users, there are different type of users, right? So I think we consider mostly like first developers, which is also known as ecosystem builders. And the second is, of course, like investors, like token holders. And the third one is actual users for the IoT device, right? So if we are saying like we want more users, definitely like we are, open the doors to these three type of users. So let me start with the first one, developers. So as we are getting more and more mature, I think I shared some of like the insights about IoTeX 2.0 during the IPFS presentation. You guys can take a look at the deck I already shared on my Twitter. So we sort of are talking about the IoTeX 2.0 being like a technology platform that actually provides storage, networking, and compute to enable this like IoT devices. And we are getting there. So like the blockchain part is done, and we are layering up like different things on top of IoTeX blockchain. Mostly is like integration. For example, like we work with IPFS, we work with another one for networking. Once we layering this up, like we are actually opening the door for lots of developers who can come and build and try out a very different, new ideas. So to actually try to accelerate this one, we have this Halo program launched a few days ago. Basically, like the foundation will provide some grants for users, for developers who actually have a very good idea, who wants to try it out. That's definitely welcomed. So that's one, right? So the second one is I can talk about Ucam first, and also other IoT users. So they are the actual users for the IoT devices, right? So they are not crypto, they are not blockchain, but they do can consider about their data, concern about their privacy. So that's a normal user from the normal world, and also they are going to pay for what they're gonna use, like a storage, computing, batteries, and everything. Of course, hardware as well. So for this type of user, definitely like anything we can do is try to make our product have a perfect market fit to make it like a success in terms of selling this to lots of homes in the US, even lots of homes in the Europe and other parts of the world as well, right? So once there's like a huge amount of user onboarded, so their activity part of their activity will be converted to the chain activity, and part of their I don't know, like a revenue or something will be also like tied to the success of the IoTeX token. So that's for two. So for like a type 2 user. For type 3 user, like investors, retail investors, institutional investors, yeah, definitely like we are very open, very welcome to you guys, to join the journey for IoTeX. So there are a couple of like initiatives around this one. First one, I think Larry is preparing this like a onboarding pack. Basically, this introduces, where IoTeX got started like 2.5 years ago, and what we have done, within this 2.5 years, and we are heading to. So that like this very comprehensive onboarding pack is basically serving as like the guidance for new investors, like especially like a retail investors trying to understand us, trying to understand our vision and vision, and want to join this journey with us. In addition to that, we are also open some conversations with institutional investors as well, who has shown lots of interest into like IoTeX, especially our mission and vision. Yeah, so I think generally speaking, like as we are growing, we are engage like whoever we can engage with, trying to make it a success for this platform and also for our technology.
Yeah, that's a great overview, Raullen. I think to add some thoughts there, I think IoTeX is at a point now where a lot of the things that we've been working on, at the platform level, a lot of that has been very technical, but now we're starting to see the first wave of products being launched on IoTeX, both on the application side and on the device side, right? It's also made us understand what our role in the ecosystem is, right? Like, all of these, Ucam is a full stack solution all the way from the hardware to the firmware to the software to the front end app. That's something that we took on with Tenvis, our partner, to really take end to end. But through that process, what that's allowed us to do is understand how to do the entire end-to-end solution, so that we can help builders like you do the same with other types of devices, right? So we've seen a lot of interesting use cases with Pebble Tracker already. One of our community members, Kits, and the London Blockchain Labs team built a really cool asset tracking, vehicle tracking concept with Pebble Tracker. We've also gotten a lot of interest from healthcare device manufacturers, whether they're doing glucose monitors or other types of sensitive data devices. So this model that we've used for Ucam can be applied to other types of devices. So many more own your data devices will be coming, and that also comes with network effects, right? Like one thing that is kind of a challenge that we're still trying to decide how to tackle is how to merge the mainstream market with the crypto market, right? The common denominator is everyone cares about data everyone cares about privacy, but not everyone cares about crypto. But merging that, driving the activity from this world into the crypto world via tokenomics and other design is something that we've been working on for quite a bit and will be coming out before Mainnet GA. So a lot of interesting things happening, and yeah, I think definitely stay tuned for more great things. So this next question is about Ucam. So BTC for CIA from Telegram asked, what advanced features are available for Ucam cameras, and what are the multiple benefits of using it at home? So I think Jing, you can share. Jing has been running his local beta testing program with hundreds of people, or maybe 100, 200 people in Silicon Valley over the past couple months, just to fix the initial set of bugs. And we've delivered the product to pre-orders, and it's pretty plug and play. But maybe Jing can share that experience and a little bit more about the features of Ucam.
Yeah, so just like right, for Ucam, actually our goal is always we want to go to mainstream. Actually, it's not only just like serves the crypto world, but actually serves the entire world who really care about their privacy. Actually, this target number is very big. Based on our a lot of surveys, actually 70% of the US people, they really care about to protect their privacy. So before we really ship out the first batch of our product, we do a lot of the testing, the real users testing. How we do it? Actually, we choose 100 households in Silicon Valley in different cities, and we get this product into their hands, and we give them 1 week to testing, and it give us a lot of the the feedbacks in terms of the features, functionalities, and most importantly, what problem they care and what problems you can solve, right? So through all those kind of very very on the ground, hands-on surveys, we get more and more clear about why Ucam is important, can solve their problems. So actually, the major things concerns them is definitely when there is the physical devices into their house, privacy will be the top priority for them to make a decision if they want to purchase the product or not, right? And actually, just like right now, there are several factors really just like makes them concerned. One is, the account system. Right now, since last year, a lot of the leak is actually through a very vulnerable account management. But actually, in Ucam, first time we introduced this blockchain-based private key, protected account, which means only users, they will own their account, and only users, they have access to their video content. So this is a huge difference, which means just like there is no more there will be an email and a password pair, which is very vulnerable, right? And right now, just like Bitcoin, the first time, if you have private key, and then you will have access to your data. And there is no manufacturer, no big tech company, no cloud provider, and not IoTeX. You have the access to your data. This part actually is very revolutionary, and it received a lot of the good feedbacks from our beta testers. Some of them even say, hey, even only for this one features, they will just like go for it. That's a very interesting kind of concept we already implemented. So all of our pre-orders, all of our users, they already can enjoy this level of the account privacy. And another part, which is not 100% related to blockchain, but we feel is very important, which is end-to-end encryption, right? So in our Ucam, we applied those from the end to the end, which means just like there is no single kind of intermediate. They will have the access, even just like for the manufacturers or for the developers, the companies. Instead of the other companies, they say it's end-to-end, but actually doesn't really mean it's end-to-end, right? It means just like the decryption key is still in the hands of the companies, which means just like if they want, they still can decrypt your data. So that just like this also differentiates us a lot, hugely from all the all the the products, camera product in the market. Actually, we have a comparison kind of form, and when we look at all the products on the market, there is only very few companies cameras they really apply this true end-to-end encryption. And actually, just like besides that, we are working very closely with our blockchain partners like IPFS. But this will be not our it will not be applied and for our current version, but actually it's on our roadmap, and we will apply it to the future versions, right? And more interestingly, after we launched this product and we showed to a lot of our partners, right, manufacturer partners. So right now, we already in our pipeline, we will just like have a lot of good product partner. They are interested in expanding this indoor camera to other categories like outdoor camera, like a doorbell camera, like dash camera for vehicles or other devices. They see the potential of this product. But for us, our focus will be we want to make this first single product right. We want to test the model, and we want to validate the demand, the real need from the user side, and then we can expand it to the other categories. So, but those type of the initial feedback is really encourage us to move forward.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Jing. It's a journey for Ucam, finally, putting in the hands of people. I was just reading a message on Telegram. I'll read it. It says, anyone else loving Ucam? What an amazing camera. The price is a steal for the features you get. I have to get more of these for sure. So it's good to hear positive feedback from the community. And like Jing said, this is just a start, right? I think, this is not just a one and done product, right? It's about the technology that we built into the hardware. And yeah, Jing.
Yes, actually the difference, of Ucam, part is about the technology, about the product, and part of about how we want to, create this community. So Ucam, just like from the day one, it's kind of this journey is not just like by our IoTeX team, but it's by, we worked closely with our partner, but more importantly, we worked closely with our community members. So I think many of the pre-order people, they already received our first email, and this email, we already just like, we take a very interactive approach. We want those, users to give us a feedback. And later, we want them to join. They already be our pioneer, right? So they are our pioneer group. We want them to join our pioneer group and just, to decide which features they want in future. So that's just like, if you ask me, what's the feature roadmap? Of course, in our tech side, we have our roadmap. But actually, just like we want this, journey will be very interactive. So we will get a lot of inputs, from our user side, because I only say just like only the users, the people, they love the product. And so that, it will eventually make Ucam a very successful product.
Awesome. Yeah, great things to come for Ucam. So, we jump to the next question here from Tadex01 on Telegram. And this one's more on the tech side. So, very related to this speech or the keynote that Raullen gave at the IPFS summit earlier. So, this specific question is about what are the security and safety measures put in place to ensure that users' data stored in the cloud and on decentralized storage like IPFS or Filecoin or other options are saved, secured, and easily accessible by their owners at any time. So, Raullen, this reminds me of those two slides you gave around sharing files, right? Maybe talk about, just the way you think about decentralized storage, right? I think, of course, there's a benefit of, not having it stored in a central server, but there are downsides on the performance side and even things that haven't been tried before, right? Like this video camera to IPFS integration is really first of its kind. So maybe talk about how you think about more of the design about how to expand the capabilities of Ucam, especially on the storage side.
Yeah, so this one could go a little bit technical, right? So in the past, so basically there are two layers of protection of data. The first layer is like an authentication, meaning like you put your data in a place, could be like a cloud provider. And the cloud provider, we have like an authentication to get your data, to get the access to your data. So you can access your data, but not anyone else. On top of this one is called encryption. So that comes later. So basically you want your data encrypted, then putting on the cloud. So the cloud has the first layer protection, while the encryption, like you control, has a second layer of protection, right? So I think that's a basic for user. But in terms of IPFS and other decentralized cloud storage, so basically you don't have this layer yet. Like we are talking with the IPFS guys, to talk about, can we have this, right? So we have a perfect encryption scheme, like key negotiation, like an encryption scheme. I think that this layer is very solid, very sound. But like decentralized storage systems don't have this layer. So some ideas are floating around with Juan, like the founder of IPFS, like trying to build some, permissioned layer on top of like the totally permissionless decentralized storage. For example, I only want my encrypted data to be, cached on maybe a few trusted IPFS nodes. Could be like one way to go. But yeah, but still, I think for now, no one has an answer yet. So this is like a totally like a very new type of scenario, like Larry said, like one of its kind. It's the first use case for like a personal home video sitting on top of like a decentralized storage. So yeah, so we're exploring like different options here. But for now, like the encryption, at least, I think gave you like the 100% guarantee for your data privacy.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Raullen. So, there's a lot of new technical things that are also going to be coming with Ucam, right? So definitely stay tuned to that. I see a lot of the questions that, we were going to, the pre-submitted questions that we were going to walk through are actually in this side chat here. So, we'll just do one or two more of these pre-submitted questions and we'll jump to your live questions. So, we'll probably go through the live questions a little bit more rapid fire, but drop all of these in the chat and we'll get to them very soon. Yeah, this last one is just around native staking V2, right? From Crypto BTC 76 on Telegram. Regarding this native staking V2, what's the difference between NSV1 with this new transaction-based design, and how does it improve the flexibility, security, and scalability of IoTeX? Maybe Raullen, just talk a little bit about native staking V2 is not just a new native staking design. It's kind of the combination of all the past history on Ethereum and all the current history on IoTeX in a brand new contract, right? That we're going to cut specifically for Mainnet GA. And that's going to really establish independence. But maybe Raullen, talk about a little bit more about the design and what it means for the network.
Yeah, so as you all know, like a system should evolve as time goes by, because as like a system builders, we're learning, all the time. So the first version of the like staking has been implemented on Ethereum. Then I think things are going so well, but still we have some learnings. We think like we should do this and that, trying to improve here and there. So that's definitely like something we should do. So after that, we have NSV1, which has been implemented using contracts on top of IoTeX network, which is still like working so well as of today, right? But still, we think there's something like a room for improvement. So that's why like we're saying like, why don't we just kill Ethereum contract? We kill NSV1, but we put all the like new ideas, new designs, new implementations, new architectures into the NSV2, so people can enjoy like up to date, the design and the token economics that goes into NSV2. So I think there are two layers. So the first layer is like how user feels. What's the user's perception in terms of NSV2? So there are some minor tweaks here and there. Like we improve like the token economics around the depots, relatively like conservative, right? So we are not changing like dramatically, but we are trying to inject some of the minor improvement here and there to improve how this could incentivize more nodes coming to the ecosystem, to contribute, and how like could this incentivize user to stake more to increase like a staking ratio, for example. So this is some like a change over there. I think Larry has a very comprehensive blog post talking about this one. So under the hood, like the technology is basically like a re-implementation of Ethereum staking and SV1 staking, combined with some like a new thoughts. So underlying everything is new, everything is like implemented using Go very natively. But user will not feel it like it, right? So still like everything is very familiar as you are always doing. like the interface, like the concept of these buckets, everything is so familiar. And also, by the way, we do have like a paper actually ongoing talking about this, like a brand new design of using bucket to capture like a portfolio management, transfer bucket, lots of flexibilities and extensibilities built into this NSV2. So this is like a very innovative design.
Awesome. Yeah. So, there's a lot of materials online about NSV2. Make sure to check it out. It also comes with some changes to, the staking design, specifically around the way auto stake works. But don't worry, we'll have some tools that really guide you through how to, consume. There's not too much difference. It's just instead of a decay model, it's just a cliff as far as bonus votes go. But check out the blog post. It'll explain more. Before we dive into your live questions, just want to make sure that everyone has read, all of the Mainnet GA migration materials that we put out, in early June, when we launched Mainnet GA. We are going to cut over all the existing votes and stakes on Ethereum to the IoTeX blockchain. So in the process of doing that, for people that all those votes are going to be mapped to your corresponding IoTeX address, which shares the same private key. Make sure that you know where that private key is so you can access your account. For hardware wallet users that don't have their private key, we provided some guidance on the IoTeX forum also regarding some options that you have. For Trezor users, unfortunately, they're not going to support new tokens. There's two options. You can, what we recommend is you map your existing stakes and votes to a new address, which will allow you to access your votes. You can still sign it with your ERC20 version of Trezor. So you have, throughout the next month to do that. So please take a look if you're a Trezor user. For Ledger, we actually got some good news from them yesterday. So they have launched the Nano S and Nano X dev mode versions of the app, which gives us the ability to start building the IOPay integration for Ledger. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Raullen, but our goal is to try to get this out, pre Mainnet GA or as quickly as possible, so that we can manage that migration easier for you guys and not have to manage that. But all these details are on the IoTeX forum and posted regularly in Telegram. So be sure to check it out and also share it with your fellow community. But we're gonna dive into some of these live questions now. The first one is Ucam available for Amazon EU customers from Super HD collection? Jing, maybe provide an example, an update on the plans to expand. I know the focus currently is definitely we're already selling to international markets from our direct-to-consumer website, but maybe talk about EU.
Yeah.
And other
so
parts
actually,
of the world.
Yeah, sure. Actually, both Amazon EU and Amazon US, especially their innovation department, they already approach us. Actually, they like our product. They want our product to be on their platform. But we also get, a lot of the kind of the advices, from those, professional marketer before we really get on the, the Amazon, which is, really have, you can expect will have a very big attraction. We need to make sure, the product is good. We need to make sure, just like, it's already, we fix all the bugs and we already iterate several rounds and make sure, this meet, the mass, it's not only the crypto, users, but actually, the mass, public users demands. So for this part, I think we still expect at least 1 month, or 2. Right, and there's another, things we are considering, for the EU market. So right now, for our early community user, we already send out to, I think, around 19 countries. Most of them, they are from the EU and, just like other countries, right? So we, although we already do some, testing simulation, in our side, but we are not 100% sure, in their country how it works, because in different countries, the cloud, the system, kind of the environment is different. So we want to expect just like the first batch of the EU users, they can receive the product, and we will just like very closely, kind of just like communicate with them to see what's their experience in their specific country. Some of the country even just they're from Ukraine, from Europe, from Netherlands, Italy, UK, different countries, right? We want to see the real experience in their country, right? At the same time, what we can really under our control will be more, in the US market and US and the North American market. So for this market, actually, we already have done a lot of the optimizations. So just like realistically, you will see for a 1 month or so, we will be just like go to the mass market, like the online store like Amazon in US first, and then gradually expand to the EU, the European market. Before we get on the EU, Amazon, for example, right? So the first thing we want to make sure it can work well in their country, right? And then just like we will gradually open, even they cannot purchase, on Amazon, still we will have the possibility they can purchase, through our official, the Shopify official, website. So it's kind of just like we need to consider a lot of things, and especially during this, pandemic situation. To be honest, the logistic will be very, very slow. So this is something I want to, kind of just like make the EU pre-order users notified. Also, we just like put a lot of effort, but actually the shipment logistic part is out of our control. So it really depends on each country's each country's the custom and their policies to see how long this shipment will take to get into their destination. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing to note, right, is that a lot of the things that we communicate with you guys is because you guys are the IoTeX community, right? But this product is it's also Tenvis's product, right? And
yeah,
Tenvis has sold a lot of cameras. They're currently Amazon's choice for cameras with their latest product. They've sold, it has 6,000 reviews, 4-star plus on Amazon. So they've done this, not their first rodeo. They've done this, they know how to sell on Amazon, know kind of what the requirements are to expand in a good way, right? They started, this camera in the US and eventually made their way into EU. So it's tricky. We would love to get this product, distributed globally in a very fast fashion, but we're trying to be strategic also to make sure that the brand reputation of these products is important, especially with the mass market. It's not like people that have done things with Ledger before and know how to use a private key and know about blockchain, right? So we have to not only we're getting great feedback already from our community, but you guys are cryptoholics, so it's kind of natural. But doing more rounds of testing with normal people is important before we drive into Amazon. But jumping in the next question is around Vita token. When it will be possible to use Vita token? So I can take this one. I think around Vita, we always imagine this to be kind of like the community, rewarding the community for being early subscribers. And we'll have an update about Vita in the coming weeks as well. But we've always envisioned it to be things for Ucam when we build more tools into it. Some of which are optional or upgrades, whether it's enhanced cloud storage or saving rolling footage for this product. Vita would be a great way to reward the community for such things. I know you guys are very eager to trade it, but I think as far as our approach with Vita right now is still trying to facilitate the rewarding of the community, and the use cases will come in parallel with the products, right? It's kind of in tandem. It has to be that way to kind of drive the economics back into the products themselves and drive some scarcity. So we'll have some updates for that in the future. As far as the next question, what are the plans to get IoTeX token in the top 100 by market cap, right? I think this is an important question that has everyone on their minds, right? So many great things happening with the project. And the price hasn't slipped too much or rose too much lately. But I think for me, I'll let you guys share your thoughts too here. But I think that we still have some things to prove, right? We've mentioned things around Ucam, around Pebble Tracker, and there was no way for you guys to know it was real. But now it's in the hands of people. People know it's real. It's the first real blockchain powered product that people don't find it inconvenient to use, right? So I think it's just a start. So as more of these proof points come along and we welcome more people to build on the platform, I think all of the things that we've invested in over the past 2 years will really start to blossom, both on the tech side and hopefully on the awareness side. But Jing, Raullen, maybe share your thoughts on this one too.
Yeah, I think for the CMC ranking, given our supply is kind of fixed, right? Circulating supply is kind of fixed, right? Still growing, but it's like very slowly, almost not. Like a CMC ranking is mostly tied to the token price, which is definitely something like we are not in control, right? So it's basically like a market says, this price, that price. There like the anything we can do is trying to improve on our product, also like trying to embrace like more users to the ecosystem builders, token holders, as well as normal IoT users. So I think that's basically like we will try our best to do. And also I think there are probably another thing we can do is try to have our token economics build up around this IoT devices. As we can tell, like the Ucam and of course like the second one, third one is already in the pipeline. They are basically there could be lots of IoT devices, just like within I don't know, I don't want to give a specific date, but like very soon. Once those IoTs actually running on top of the IoTeX network, there should be something we can tie their behaviors, like I don't know, it's a gas fee model, it's like more like a US type of reserve bandwidth, reserve compute model. But there should be something that tied to the token. So that's where like we plan to spend more effort to have this thing designed right.
So it's a combination of tokenomics and design, but also exposure, right? I think we've taken the effort to really start to create more official materials. We're starting to branch out and receive very reputable positions in things like IIC and getting exposure on the enterprise side there. So I always think about it kind of like your finances, right? These kind of milestones compound over time, and I think everyone can feel the momentum with IoTeX moving along, and I think it's just a matter of time before the world starts to recognize and see the real proof points that I mentioned earlier. So the next question here is around feasibility research, what the market volume might expand to, and where IoTeX places itself in that market share. So just to share some statistics, right, about Internet of Things market. Right now, there's about 25 billion IoT devices out there in the world. Projected by 2025, just in 5 years, that number is going to hit 100 billion. So all these smart devices, cameras, virtual assistants in our homes, thermostats, also vehicles, all these connected devices, and our thesis has always been, all of our smart devices should, work for us, right? They should do what they're told, and there's no backdoors where our data is getting shared and all of these things. So that future is inevitable, in my opinion, right? And I think that we have built the foundation for future builders that share the same vision to build on that, right? So, even if we capture 0.1% of those 100 billion devices in the future, that's already 100 million devices out there. So, of course, that's our very long-term goal, to be the decentralized infrastructure for this kind of variant of Internet of Trusted Things. But I think there's a large market size that could be had. So I'm going to jump to this next question here around decentralized identity proposed by IoTeX. So Raullen, you shared some things around decentralized identity in the IPFS summit. Maybe talk about the progression there and what DID means for the future of Ucam and other powered by IoTeX products.
Oh, so there are so many progress on that, and so we are actually thinking about a very innovative idea about micro DAO. So if you think a DAO is like a big giant set of contracts plus some compute off chain to like have everything autonomous and also like orchestrated by the blockchain, right? So we should like decompose this DAO into like a different micro DAOs. It's the same as like you have a big service running but it's still like you have like a, I don't know, 100 microservices behind. Like Google is one giant service, right? Like you do the search, but behind Google, there are probably like a 1,000 microservices just doing its own functionality. So we are seeing like the same in the DAO space actually as well. So if you're talking about DAO is like company who, who's running it autonomously, then there must be like a micro DAO, which is just like a provide identity functions, right? So everybody needs this identity function. So like the plan here is we are trying to wrap up all the DID work into a micro DAO and trying to build like a very user-friendly API layer on top of that. So the idea is we build this identity DAO and also another probably like a provenance DAO and a few like a micro DAOs. Then we can build like a very complicated stuffs on top of those micro DAOs. But yeah, I think that's a very interesting idea. I didn't see anyone in the industry talking about this before. So we're doing some like tech discussions and probably like a blogging post about this one.
Yeah, I think our version of decentralized identity is very interesting because we, while a lot of people are thinking about personal identity, what are the characteristics of a person, right? What gives a person their identity? We're thinking about it also in the context of devices. Like, what does a device need to be trusted, right? It has to have an identity. It has to be able to verify its actions. That all ties into decentralized identity and also ties into pretty much all layers of the IoTeX platform. So, I think we've been thinking about what our role in the ecosystem is. I think it's, we want to be the trusted devices and trusted data generators. And using this foundation, people can build their own trusted applications and services without replicating all the work to integrate the devices, give them identities and things like that. So yeah, that stack is ready. So we're really excited to bring it to the world. I skipped one here. I think Grog099 says, hello guys. I think everything is you do is so interesting, but my main question is, do you use shining white background just to get closer to Jesus Christ? Love your camera. I use this background because I have a messy room and I don't want you guys to see it. But this is just the perils of coronavirus. You can tell Raullen is in a very large conference room, not very much social distancing, but just some funny backgrounds to play with. The next question is around, so 3 more questions here. The next question is around, was your project born in Silicon Valley? And is IoTeX inspired by the Silicon Valley film? Yeah, maybe Jing, share a little bit about how being in Silicon Valley affects the project.
Sure, I would say the Silicon Valley film inspired by the real Silicon Valley happening or culture. Actually, just like Silicon Valley is a very, very interesting, very unique place. Actually, just like when you are get into any of the meetups, you will feel just like half of them, they are founders. They are creating something and they are thinking about what's the next way, what's the next big thing, right? A lot of the people really just like have those type of the startup, really want to create new things and want to change the world, those type of the mindset. And we definitely got impacted by the entire ecosystem a lot. Myself, I'm a venture capitalist for the past 6 years, right? So I met with thousands of those startup founders, and actually just like Lauren already been in this tech space for 10 years. We are I mean, just like I would say the entire IoTeX team have a gene of Silicon Valley. This is no doubt, and all of us actually we are very committed to creating things which will be impact and change the world in the positive ways in the future. And actually, just like what we so that you will see a lot of things we have done. Actually, it's very unique, and actually, there is no existing models we can follow or we can copy, right? A lot of them just like we have to do those hard work, from the system side and from the product side until it proves say, hey, it works. So that just like from some of our just like users say, hey, why all of them they are doing the DeFi why you have to, why you not follow them. DeFi have a, a certain future. But for us, actually, we believe, you have to focus. If you believe in something, and if you already see, the future, even ahead of the other people, you need to build it so that people can see the future. So this is actually just like our philosophy. And I think just like from the past, 2.5 years hard working, and we already prove it, right? So two and a half years ago, we only have a white paper, right? Even ourselves, our team, we don't know. Just like we didn't really expect, we will build a Ucam, or we will build, a kind of, smart home devices end to end. But it's kind of just like, along the way, because the vision never changed. We see the vision, which will be just like we want to build in the Internet of Trust things. We want, our users, a human, really can, take control of their device and data. And this is something that we believe in. And if we believe in that, and we have to, really, move forward in that direction until we really build it.
Definitely, one step at a time. I think, regarding the Silicon Valley kind of environment, it helps us to, stay tuned and keep this fast pace, right? Everyone's working so hard here, and also around the world. So it's very inspiring to see, the activity in the crypto market still, even in this bear market. But I think brighter days are ahead. So 2 more questions here. When are we going to see Ucam for outdoor and doorbell usage? These are kind of in the discussions right now. But, I know we can't share too much about this, but, one thing that you said, Jing, I thought was interesting was that this second one, we're looking into the integration about, the custom firmware and all these other things. And this one's much easier than the first one. So maybe talk about the repeatability of, how we gonna do different form factors of Ucam.
Sure. Yeah. I would say always, from 0 to 1 is the hardest part, right? So actually, for the first stage, which we already achieved, the goal, which is just like we from end to end, from the firmware, from the design, the infrastructure, the blockchain part, encryption part, all the things, right? We put them together. They really just like, present, the product from the end to end. This part is very, very hard. But actually through this process, we already just like create a set of the technologies. And those technologies actually could be, fairly easy to expand to other categories. And for our plan, actually, the first things we want to focus on video related products. Take this as the first category we want to expand, and this is already a kind of $1 trillion company, $1 trillion market size, because a camera is already an essential part within those smart devices. So that just like you can see around the camera, you will have a lot of various type of the products, like just like we say indoor, right? So indoor, we come up with the general functional, products, but actually just like there are several, kind of partners, they come up the ideas, which will be more focused on the baby monitor, more focused on the, the pet, right? More focused on taking care of their senior people. So all of those, actually have a lot of the different type of innovators they want to work with us. And for us, we are more like enabling platform and enabling technology. We already have, from the firmware to, the blockchain infrastructure, to the cloud and even the decentralized storage, right? So we already have this layered tech stack ready. And then it will make us, much easier, to work with those, video related, innovators, so that they will work on the innovations on application side, to serve the specific kind of user cases for their users. So this basically is our, plan. And, remember, IoTeX is a platform. We are enabling, empower the small, medium, micro innovators. So we are not really just like, hey, we are, only just like work with those big companies. Of course, there are some big companies, they are also just like, approaching us and talking to us, right? But for us, in heart, actually, we feel just like blockchain itself is kind of democratize, the the technology, and so that all the small, medium, micro business innovators, they are easily to build up their product or to build up their business on top of our platform.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, some issues with the video here. I think people are just looking at my face on the YouTube. But yeah, hopefully it's back now. But yeah, the last question here, I think we covered is just around when native staking V2 will be available. This is a good time, I think, just to recap all the things that are launching as part of Mainnet GA, right? The native staking V2 will be activated as part of Mainnet GA. Basically, it's going to cut over all the information from Ethereum to IoTeX and activate this new contract. Also launching as part of that. So when we launch Mainnet GA, what that means is we're basically cutting the tie to Ethereum. So it's a big milestone for IoTeX. So that's when the native staking V2 will be done. So, I think we covered a solid hour of questions and updates. So hopefully this is really informative for the community. But any final words, Jing and Raullen, for the community?
Very important, stay safe and stay healthy. And just like we can, the bad things happens, right? Sometimes we need to take another way, say, hey, actually take this opportunity to spend more time with your loved one, with your family together. And the future is ahead of us.
Awesome. Raullen, any final thoughts for the community?
Yeah, I think it's similar, guys, stay safe. The crypto market, like people was talking about Bitcoin halving like probably 1 or 2 days ago. Everybody is so hyped about Bitcoin. We'll probably go to the moon very soon, but we're still saying like this crypto market will expand, but it's just very slowly pass. So have some patience. We are seeing some like real stuff that is really coming. IoTeX is definitely like one of them. If you look at the space, like when we were get started, there are probably, I don't know, 10, 20 IoT plus blockchain type of projects out there, all like hyping, just, making noises so much. But after 2 years, like who's still here and who's still doing things and who's still change the world, I think everybody can tell, right? Very easily. Definitely like IOTA, I think they are my aspect, like they are still working on this one, like stick to this vision. I think IoTeX as well, like and all the others, as you can tell. So yeah, I think just give us some time. Like people are usually like too optimistic about the short term, but too optimistic about the long term. But definitely like we are saying like we're actually changing the world bit by bit together with lots of builders in the blockchain and crypto industry.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at the back and forth with Ethereum news about is proof of stake mainnet going to launch in July or further on. So I think what we've been able to do in just 2 years, I think is really amazing, right? Not only launch mainnet alpha now to mainnet GA, this full native blockchain live with many delegates, but also simultaneously launching two very first of its kind devices with partners. So I think when it's tough to compare, right? A 2-year-old company like a 2-year-old project like IoTeX with IOTA, which came out in 2015, ETH came out in 2013 or 2014, had maybe 3 to 5 years head start on us. But I think if you think about what the next 2 years for IoTeX could envision, I think it's only going to be going back to that compounding thing. We're starting compound interest over time. Compound interest takes time, right? If you get 7% on your money for 10 years, then you double it, right? But in the first 1 to 3 years, you're not making that much. But it's about compounding the technology and the network effects. So we're well on our way. With that, want to thank Raullen and Jing for their time, and hope you guys enjoy this AMA. Stay tuned for more exciting Mainnet GA announcements later on very soon. But until then, we're going to sign off. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye.